Now, we all know that Universal Studios are planning to build a world-class theme park and resort just outside of Bedford. What you may not know is that just outside of Bedford actually means within the village of Kempston, Hardwick, neighbouring the village of Stewartby. Now, I went to the Parish Council meeting of Stewartby and Kempston, Hardwick to hear what the local people had to say about the development. This was the opportunity for the Parish Council to explain what the plans were and for the local residents to explain what their concerns might be about the park. In this video, we will go through 5 of the key concerns that were raised, and we will have a look through the documentation to see how Universal plans to address them. In some cases, there are clear plans to mitigate the impact of these concerns. In some cases, the detail is a little bit threadbare. So, you want to watch this video and you want to find out what the people have to say and what Universal have tried to do to mitigate those concerns. If you haven't already, you want to follow us here and subscribe for construction updates every week, daily updates on YouTube Shorts and every other channel, as well as a deep dive through all of the documentation. You're not going to want to miss a single bit. So let's kick off now with the first of the concerns. Now, the very first concern that was raised during this public meeting of the Parish Council of Stewartby and Kempston Hardwick was that around the traffic expected in the area. Now, it says in the plans that there is to be a 44% increase in traffic in the local area during the construction works. There was a lot of conversation in the room about what that would entail, and some people suggested that they should just ban construction traffic from going through the village. Now, that's something that actually Universal have already confirmed and committed to doing. The 44% actually comes from people looking to circumvent the construction works and go through the village. And here we have the document which refers to that. So it's marked as a medium sensitivity inconvenience, I suppose is probably the right word for it. They're saying it's a low magnitude of change, a drive delay of negligible. And over a 24-hour period, there would be potentially up to a 44% increase of 2,453 vehicles. Now, in the AM peak hour, that would be an increase of 44% of the total traffic. And in the PM peak hour, it would be an increase of 58%. In all assessment periods, no material change in HDV traffic is expected. Those are your bigger vehicles, right? Now, it's residential as an area, and it has a 30-mile-per-hour speed limit with slow markings along the carriageway. There is already a vehicle size restriction in place, restricting access to large vehicles over 7.5 tonnes, except for loading. Now, what we have here is effectively a valid concern. It's been raised. Now, what exactly that will mean in the real term for people, an inconvenience. There's going to be some increase in traffic for those individuals of 44%. In terms of how long or extended journeys will be through the area, that will vary, I'm sure, day to day. And it should be mentioned at this point that the 44% is certainly a worst case scenario. Now, the next concern was really about traffic as a whole, not just within the village, but also more widespread. If you wanted to leave the village, if you were going to work, if you were taking your kids to school, that kind of thing, what does the project look like? Now, obviously, Universal have said that they expect 8.5 million people to be attending in the first year alone, as well as 55,000 on peak days. But how will people be attending the resort? Well, some of them will be attending by car, and for those people, they will be joining the resort via the new slip road that they're building on the A421. Now, these details about the A421 slip road are a little patchy, but it does look like there will be access to both directions of the A421. It may well be that eastbound and northbound traffic will be through existing road network. However, eastbound and southbound traffic on the A421 will be served by a new dual carriageway slip road, which will be constructed on the A421. Now, we can see here that the A421 junction and access arrangements are there in the documentation, as well as talking about the amount of traffic that will be hoping the footfall, the people visiting the resort that will be coming via rail. So this will be through Wixham's train station and potentially East West Rail's development there as well. So we have here a little bit of information which hopefully will allay some of those fears. Some people were concerned that 55,000 people would be traipsing through their village every day. That is not going to be the case. The transport links which are being provided, the infrastructure that's being put in, will get people from those main conduits, the A421, which connects the A6, the A1 and the M1 into the park without touching the village. Obviously as well, you've got the railways, and again, there won't be any issue with that. And one of the key concerns for local residents is around the opening hours. We have in some of the earlier parts of the documents that the resort will be operational between 7 in the morning and 11 o'clock at night on every single day, with extended opening hours until 2 a.m. on 60 to 90 days a year, and 30 of those 90 are to 1 a.m. However, if we have a little bit of a deeper dive into the documentation and based on some conversations with Universal themselves, we know that actually the opening hours of the theme park are going to be between 10 and 8 p.m. during the summer months, and during the colder period of the year between 10 and 6 p.m. On those more special occasions when the park could be open until 11 or maybe a little later than that. There will also be scope for corporate hire of the facility, so again that would have later opening hours too. So we're looking at an average closure time between 10 and 8 during the summer months. I think that would go till 10 p.m. on bank holidays and weekends and peak times. But generally speaking, we're looking at some respectable opening hours, but nothing as extreme as 7 in the morning until 11 p.m. at night. Now, obviously, these are concerns for local residents, particularly in terms of how people are going to get there. One of the key components of this planning document is that the traffic going to the resort will be what they call counter-cyclical, which effectively means that the traffic will be moving in the opposite direction to rush hour traffic. So they're hoping that capacity won't be an issue on the infrastructure that exists and the new infrastructure that they're putting in. Now, the fourth concern was about light and sound pollution, particularly for those who have properties that back onto the park. Now, this is split into two. There's obviously the light and sound pollution while construction's taking place. We know that construction will take place between 7 a.m. and 7 p.m. on Mondays through to Fridays and on Saturday mornings. It won't be taking place on Saturday afternoons or on Sundays. So there is some respite there. In terms of when the park's operational, we've just covered what those opening hours are going to be like, but what are they doing to countermeasure some of the light and sound pollution which will inevitably occur when you have a lot of people in a small space? So all of the light and sound will be facing inward. So effectively, that will address a lot of the issues. They're also going to be planting a lot of trees. There will be a lead time in that kind of natural shield being fully operational for about 10 to 15 years. And as well as all of that, we have the matter of height. Now, obviously, the planning application has in there a height of 115 metres, which people had concerns about at the meeting. Now, my immediate thought is that is very high. However, the chimneys that were there before were in some cases 400 feet high. So it's not like there's never been anything very tall there. There has been very recently. So it's a tough one because a lot of those houses that already were built with something enormous on the horizon. So it's a tricky one. Some people may like to look out their window and see a chimney. Some people might look out their window and see a roller coaster. It's a matter of personal preference. So I can understand why people may be cautious about the change. The last one was about school routes and construction disruption. So a lot of the people that live in Kempston, Hardwick and Stewartby, their kids go to school in Wootton. Now that's actually on the other side of the A421. They have to cross the A421 using the Wootton junction to get over there. Now that would actually mean they have to drive past the site, which is obviously a bit of a challenge and will be a bit of a challenge when things ramp up to capacity. So there are some things that are going to be done immediately to try and make that easier, including signalising some junctions so that people can get out of Stewartby easily and they can get out onto the road that will get them over to Wootton nice and simply. It will really be a case of let's see what happens as far as if those will be successful or not. Now, as I said, a lot of these concerns are valid. In fact, everyone's opinion is valid if it's voiced respectfully. So it will be interesting to see how things pan out, and we may not know for years if some of these concerns are well founded or not. What we do know is that Universal are going to try and do their best to mitigate those concerns, and they have shown through long periods of public engagement that they do want to try and make this good for the local community. There's enormous benefits. There's 20,000 jobs coming during construction and 8,000 when the park opens. There will be plenty of benefits. And Universal, I think, from what I've seen, are quite clearly committed to addressing any concerns that people have about how this development will impact their existing lives. Thanks so much for joining us as we dug into what the people have to say of Kempston, Hardwick and Stewartby. What do you think? What concerns would you have if you were a resident of those villages? Maybe you are a resident of those villages or you're in one of the neighbouring villages that may be affected. How do you feel about it? There are no right or wrong opinions. Every opinion is valid as long as it's voiced respectfully. So let me know in the comments what you think. Don't forget to follow us here for all the latest. We will do our best to be communicating with you as every single development happens on this exciting project. I can't wait to share those details with you. Take care, and I'll see you soon.